Welcome to Between Two Clinicians, the podcast that gives you a backstage pass into the mind of two therapists. I'm Talia.
I'm Adam Luke. We've spent years helping others navigate the complexities of their minds and relationships.
In this podcast, we're flipping the script and we're sharing our own unfiltered insights. No topic is off limits and no issue too taboo. We're ready to tackle the tough stuff with honesty and empathy. Let's dive in. What a lovely holiday prayer. Amen.
Amen. Well, welcome. We're going to kickstart this episode. It has been different, to say the least, because we started recording the wrong one because Adam can't read. Anyways, welcome to episode 57, which is much higher than the one I previously quoted. We are recording the episode titled Past the Trauma. This is our second holiday episode of the season, and we're knowing things are bubbling up, especially after Thanksgiving. Past the Trauma for us was a little play on Past the Mashed Potatoes, because sometimes it feels like people are putting more on your plate than food.
Yes, and more than you'd want.
Absolutely.
Getting overserved.
Yes, we have to guard our plates and our hearts, sadly, at some of these mixers we will be attending.
Yes.
So I kind of want the viewership and audience. I kind of think about this. So how have you noticed that when you maybe attend family holidays or vacations, that you'll have these moments where it seems like people take the family get together as a green light to overshare? And how do you handle that? You know, in many families, they think about, oh, well, I don't want to rock the boat. So we all just feel like a captive audience, right? I
Or
like to say,
captive,
like,
or being
we're,
held captive.
yeah,
Yes.
it's almost like seatbelting yourself in for the train wreck that's about to happen. Like,
Yes.
you are voluntold that
Yep.
you will be watching the train wreck.
Yep. Yes, and I think when we are at whatever the literal or metaphorical, the proverbial table with our loved ones or
Yeah.
family that we have to be around, whichever it might be for you, there is a kind of an unspoken, or sometimes out loud, but mostly unspoken expectation of you'll handle it because whatever role you are in the family, or like the other episode we did on the invisible loyalty that you might fall into, or the deference that each family member gives one another. Well, that's just like, it's like the adults table and the kids table. Some families do that. It's like, this is going to be part of what we talk about, or there's going to be people who use it as a chance to overindulge on substance use, overshare what's going on in their life, be overly intrusive and asking your own personal life. Like, why don't you have a partner? Why aren't you married? When are you having kids? Or if you have that, let's say you just found a partner, when are you going to get engaged? When are you getting married? When do you have kids? We're at my house. It's like getting a brochure, basically. I've seen somebody do that on Instagram where they printed out a brochure of like life questions. Please don't ask me. And like, here you go. We can inadvertently or intentionally be passing on our trauma at these gatherings, especially if it's unprocessed. So we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about how to process that because a lot of our other episodes cover it.
Correct.
But to be able to touch on, some people will try and pass the trauma off onto you or put it on your metaphorical plate. And if you are full and you don't want that on your plate, a way that you can say no would be verbally, right? Like, sounds very interesting, and then like do an Irish goodbye, or, oh yeah, and so told me that earlier, like, hope it gets better, and walk away. You don't need to be rude, but you don't need to stay and engage in somebody trying to offload their trauma onto you, is the small piece of advice that I would give, aside from go back and listen to our other episodes where we talk about it incredibly in depth, how to like navigate boundaries and set boundaries.
I think, if anything, I want to encourage everyone to recognize that your story has value to it. And if it has value to it, then you have every right to be careful who you share that story with.
Yes.
So, like, I have a lot of clients that are navigating divorce this season, right? They're going home for the first time without a spouse. How am I going to deal with nieces, nephews?
Right.
And man, those are very difficult situations. I haven't ever personally been in them, but having sat with a lot of individuals who have,
It's awkward.
it's very awkward, right?
Yeah.
And I think there is this challenge that we have as adults, that we think that we need to present all the evidence. It's almost like you're going to court. Oh, I need to make some defense.
Right.
And sometimes it's just as easy as saying Auntie so and so is just not a part of this family anymore, but wish her the best or whatever it is. Believe it or
Yeah.
not, the short and sweet is what the kids are after, anyways. Like, it's
Yes.
almost like the same conversation as when my clients come in stressed out of their mind because their kids asked what sex was and they went into the Nat Geo special and the kid
Yes.
was like, so it's babies. Like, that's like,
They
uh,
just, or you
they,
can be like, "What makes you wanna know?" That's a great kid-friendly because they might be like, "I
like,
heard such and such say this," and then you could be like, "Oh, that's not what that is," and you get to avoid whatever you
exactly.
adult-wise thought entirely, yes.
But so often we get into that spot of like, oh no, I have to explain everything, right? Like,
I have to over-explain, which is in and of
mhm.
itself sometimes a trauma response, yeah.
So, just check yourself up on like if you, I loved what you said. If you don't feel ready to have the conversation, then you're not going to do really well on the fly. So
Correct, yes.
that's also the ability to say, I'm really enjoying my time with my family right now.
Yeah,
Like
and I
when someone
appreciate
asks
you.
a
Yeah,
personal, I
yeah.
really would just like to focus on today.
Yeah, I appreciate you even if their intent is not to demonstrate care, you can
Yeah.
gaslight for good or be kind. I really appreciate you asking and showing an interest in my life, which is true. I'm sure most people appreciate it, maybe not in the way they're doing it, but lead with what's true. I appreciate you asking and and you can sometimes soften it if it's like generationally way
Mm,
older. We like, if it's okay, just for today, I
yeah.
kind of don't want to think about it because I'm having so much fun here, right? You can go into that mode and the person
Absolutely.
can hopefully take a hint. And if not, you started out being kind. And then you can be like, I don't want to have this conversation, even in a very soft tone, and then walk away. You gave them an opportunity. You didn't necessarily owe them that. You're not giving any details. You're just saying, I don't want to do
No,
that and I don't have to do that. So we're going to move on from this topic. And you can escalate, right? DBT skills teach
I
us you
love
can
it.
escalate the intensity of the no or the intensity of the request if it's really important. And you are responsible for caring for yourself at the start and the end and all through
Mhm.
the holidays. And I think that's where our segue into giving people more grace around the
Mhm.
holidays, not just saying grace, but giving grace is important, I think not letting people get off scot free. If
No.
you know that the person who usually brings the pecan pie is going through a divorce or they just lost a child or whatever, or maybe they just got a new promotion, positive thing, but they've been traveling a ton and they're exhausted. The grace that can be extended is not expecting the
Mm,
tradition to be upheld if the person who does the tradition or performs it is going through something, whether it's positive stress or negative stress. It's 1 year you can live without a pie. Like Vaughn's is down the street. We're all going to make do.
mm,
And it's not up to necessarily that person to pass it off on to someone else. And they could, right? But that isn't, can't be the expectation necessarily.
no,
If they do, it's wonderful. And if not, I'm going to give them grace anyway. And not everybody acts right around the holidays, especially if they're under
correct.
the influence. So if you are your adult self, please limit your substance use intake as a way to care for yourself around the holidays and be able
Absolutely.
to extend more grace to others but also set firmer boundaries because you'll be in your right mind and you'll be
Mm,
more in control of your body. If you want one glass of, like, I can't tell people what to do. You want to
no,
indulge, go for it, but also be prepared. You might not be given as much grace because that doesn't give you carte blanche to just say whatever
true.
you want.
You
Yeah.
need to own the consequences positively and negatively of it,
Oh,
of like
100%.
whatever
Yes.
you do.
Yes.
And so, I think that giving grace also sometimes means giving something that we don't receive from the others around us. So, like,
Mic drop.
realize you can be sort of a silent advocate and ally for people. Like, yeah, if you are as attuned to recognize someone lost a spouse or someone is divorced or whatever might have happened, you know what? Maybe you're the only person that walks up to him and just says, "I'm glad that you're here," instead of "Where's the pecan pie? Where's this?" Oh,
Yeah.
those are always so good, right?
So
It's
sad your husband died. Are you okay?
how about you just say, "I appreciate you being here."
Yeah, it's great
Like,
to see you.
it's great to see you.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to seeing you. Like,
Yes, I was looking forward to this. I'm grateful you're here. Yeah.
I mean,
That
cause
would be the grace.
but again, it's kind of funny because we have to jump back into this mindset of like, there's these expectations that go to excess. Like, "Oh, no, it has to be something more than that." No, sometimes just walking over and saying that you appreciate someone's presence is enough,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
But I think that that's also, like, it's a great takeaway of sort of recognizing, families that have high level of dysfunction also seem to be the families that give the best gifts. And so
That
and
is so true.
and you wanna know why? Because every gift is a literal, wrapping of guilt. Like,
Oh my
it's
god, that is so funny. That is
like
so true.
it's like, "Oh, wow," like, super thoughtful, really nice. And it is, it's almost like, "Okay, this is how we," baby Jesus is gonna wipe our slates clean, is how it is.
Oh, I am having so many rain
And
in
trust me,
it.
for my poor folks out there were plenty of families that were high dysfunction and we didn't get shit, but in reality, I've worked with just too many situations that's like where there's such high level of dysfunction, enmeshment. There's also, people have been exiled. Also, it's
Yes.
amazing that then when it
Yes.
comes to Christmas, I mean
Yes.
the Christmas tree is packed, the
Mhm.
roast beast is on the table,
Mhm, mhm,
everything is what you want.
mhm,
And why it's not actually done so that we will spend better time together, but that it'll
mhm.
be a pseudo excuse for what I've put you through for the year.
And in that strong adherence to tradition around gifts or around who brings
Yeah.
what meal, whatever, there are so many times that grace is not extended
Mhm.
when people go through major life events. I without sharing an entire diatribe. As you just said that, I had such a strong reaction. My ex's family would do a name pull and then each of
Yeah.
them got each other a gift. It was very well orchestrated,
Mhm.
lots of dysfunction. So it was just funny to me because I'm like, yeah, that's true. Will never forget many things during pregnancy and postpartum. I gave birth 3 weeks early from stress on Thanksgiving, and I was still expected the next day to be responding to the group message thread about white elephant gift exchange. Hey there, listeners. Are you tired of settling for less than you deserve in your relationships? Do you ever feel like you're not being seen, heard, or valued the way that you want? Or maybe you've been wondering why you keep attracting the same kinds of people into your life, or why certain patterns seem to repeat themselves in your relationships. The answer might be deeper than you think, and you can find it in my new course. Rewire Your Relationships is a transformative course designed to help you stop settling for less than you deserve and start embodying your most confident, assertive, and authentic self in your relationships. You'll explore how your early experiences and parental influences have shaped your views on love, dating, and self worth. This isn't just about tips and tricks for dating, it's about understanding the core beliefs that drive your relationships that you attract. You'll learn how to break free from those old patterns and start creating the kind of connections that truly reflect who you are. Imagine stepping into a relationship with clarity and confidence, knowing you're attracting people who value and respect you for who you really are, your deeply authentic self. The Rewire Your Relationship course gives you the tools to rewrite your relationship story, one where you're no longer settling, but thriving. Visit taliabombola.com/rewire your relationships or check the link in the show notes for more. You know how severe everything was in my life going
Mhm.
through it with him at that point, and that was the expectation. So when the holidays came around, even though I'd been in the family for years and I had participated in previous events where they could
Yeah.
infer she likes the color pink, she likes like anything, I was given Grubhub gift cards. Mhm. After being in the family for 4 years. Well, we didn't get your response. I just had a
It's a power play, ain't it? Yeah,
okay,
there's
okay, and you're dead to me. So yes, I will say the families who have high levels of, and this is not this piece. This is not to say
yeah.
every family who does white elephant or does gift stuff
No.
has dysfunction. Gifts are not my love language. That's not my top
Mhm.
priority. Really, a gift card is what you thought.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Like that speaks volumes without saying anything. So I will leave it at that. But that is very true that there's often a hyper focus on no grace, tradition, this, that, let's do this. And then on the other side of it, like, but we got you something. Why aren't you grateful?
And it's normally something of, like, significance, and so then that's the
Yeah.
weird position that it puts you in of, like, "Oh, so you're just ungrateful?"
And
No, no,
also
no.
highlighting, and now I realize in retrospect, highlighting how, which I already painfully knew, but how little I meant to my ex
Mm,
at the time to even have him pinch hit for me and be like, "Hey, she wants this, this, and
kind of
this," because
busy.
we were so
Mhm.
disconnected as well because of his behaviors. So yeah, it
And I
really
think
it does. Yeah, it highlights that though there was no grace extended, and that's where then the desire to go participate
mhm,
in these holiday events is almost null or very low because you don't care about my internal world. You don't care about my experience and what I'm
mhm,
going through. If it's a loss or if it's a gain, this is not out of ego. A birth of someone or a death of somebody is a really intense time for anyone to go through. There's a lot of grief that comes with both of it. That should be a time where grace
mhm,
is extended. And like we've talked about, and we'll get to at the end of the episode, there is a time of remembrance for those we've lost over the years
mhm,
as well. And the seats at the table that aren't there anymore become obvious. And if we are the other surviving family who is not extending grace to that person or empathy, like, hey, I know this is your first year
sure.
without so and so, or they were told they wouldn't make it and now they are, like a little meaning checking in and just showing human empathy
Mhm,
goes a long way around the holidays, extending grace, especially if somebody's gone through a
yes.
major life transition, is what I would say.
Yeah, and before we make that transition to, like, the last part of our episode, I think
Yeah, not
something
yet.
that you brought up that I was like, "Oh, we haven't
Oh,
really talked about because there you just were able to sort of share with us what it was like to navigate a family function alone and sort of abandoned by your significant other.
for years, yeah.
And so I think the other aspect is recognizing, like, when you walk into family functions, don't forget who is the family you brought with you. And what I
Hmm,
mean by that is, like, a lot of times and it can happen right away.
yeah,
I come from a very large Southern family. It's quite often you get through the front door, the women go one way, the men go
right,
the other,
right.
and it could be hours of not spending time with each other. And I had never seen it as a problem because I hadn't ever navigated it with a wife, right? So like I was
Sure.
used to like you walk in and yeah, all the guys go do this and women do that, but then I'll never forget, like, the first time Jill kinda nudged me and was like, "You left me." And I was like, "What do you mean left you? We're still in the same house." But then I started to recognize what she was saying, which is I love your family, I want to get to know your family, but I'm alone in this process. Like, you're not
Yeah.
introducing me to your family
Mhm.
when they monopolize your time and pull you a different direction. Now, my
Right.
wife's not
Mhm.
saying that she doesn't wanna spend time with my family, but
No.
it has to be different. So what
Yes.
we do now is a lot of times we're unified. We're very like with each other in the process. Sure, there's still times that my uncle wants to go show me something in the driveway, whatever. I'm going to disappear, but I'm keenly aware of that's not going to be hours of me disappearing, right? Like I have to be present. And so I
Mhm.
think that's the other aspect of like we will ask so much of our spouses and significant others of like, "Hey, can you come do this thing with me?" And we'll literally recruit them to join us, and then in other aspects, we'll completely forget they exist. So do your
Yes.
best to not forget who rode in the car with you.
Yes,
Those are
we
the
said
people you
this,
should be
and
looking
yeah,
out for.
that's your family. And then once you become married and have a family, the family of origin is now your extended family if it's done properly and healthily individuated. And I pop back to two memories. One Thanksgiving, being told, yeah, let's make pie, this, that, whatever. I show up, he's like, I'm going golfing with my dad. And I was like, we had a deal and you didn't inform me of this till I showed up. And so I'm making pie in the kitchen with his mom, but struggling with, I want them to like me because I like him, not that day, but I like him. And then another Christmas, they did a calendar every year with everyone's birthdays on the
Yeah,
calendar, and they forgot mine. And I was sad, obviously, because I'd been with him a long time. And I was like, this isn't the first year. I can understand the first year because it's new, like being a year
yeah,
in,
of
but it was like two
course.
or 3 years in at this point, and I'm like sad. And he's like unmoored. He's like, whatever. And I'm like, this hurts my feelings. And I said that in front of his sister. I'm like, this hurts. Like, I feel left out. And he's like, it's not a big deal. Should have known those red flags. And his sister pulled me, the one I like, one of them, pulled me aside and was like, I'm so sorry. It got like lost in this and probably didn't make it in the rough draft. She seemed genuinely apologetic. So I drew it in one
Mm,
year. And then the following year, I think we were kind of on the out, so they didn't put me in. And the last one, they obviously didn't. But I'm just like, I'm still the mother of the child that's in this
true.
family. And you should all be so lucky that you even get access to her at this point. Like, if we were still together, you would not be seeing her. The only reason why you get her is because he gets visitation. So, lest we not forget, the reason why she's on the calendar is because I was born.
Well, yeah,
So
and
it
why do we
feels,
wanna
yeah.
make it like, to
Why would
hate
you want to
to hate
ostracize?
to hate
I'm
one
always going to be,
person
yes.
is to hate half of the child they share with
Yes.
someone.
Yes,
So,
and I'm
like
always gonna be her mom, and I have her have pictures of him in the house, like, that's her dad. I respect the role of, like,
yeah.
how she views him, and this will lead into the empty seats piece of it, because whether you're going through this holiday season and you've
Mm,
lost one or both parents, a sibling, a cousin, you're divorced, so your family system looks different, right? Empty seats.
mhm,
How the rest of your family handles the empty seat makes a big difference on the
yeah,
lasting impact of the tradition of those
mhm,
surviving or still in the family system, especially if you have children who the person isn't there, that's their other parent. So yes, you might not like them for the
mhm,
role of ex sister-in-law or ex wife or whatever. You're entitled to those feelings,
correct.
but when you're dealing with kids, especially even grieving like grandparents, you might not have liked your parent if they passed away. But if your kid loved their grandparent, keeping in mind that's the filter. As an adult, you don't get to have all of your own feelings all the time, especially out loud. And if somebody
Mhm,
voices, wow, I really miss grandma, or I wish my mom or dad could be here, the response being, I get that. That makes total sense that you'd want them here to celebrate a holiday rather than like, well, don't be. We hate that person. Be very mindful of
mm,
the seeds you're planting with the relationships you have still left at the table, because it might not look the same year after year, even though they're still alive. That's why it explains the aunt who stops showing up or the uncle who pulls
mm,
away. It's because the surviving members of the tradition may not appreciate how the ones who are not in it anymore are being spoken about for the empty seats piece. We can transition to that at the end.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you did a great job there because there's gonna be on the flip side, there's gonna be people navigating these holidays for the first time without
Yes.
someone in their life.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that it should be our job as a family to be keenly aware of those losses that happen. And instead of focusing on our intrigue or our curiosity, wonder how we can show up for the most vulnerable family members this season. So, like, I love to sort of ask clients, like, what were the traditions that you normally had with that person there?
Right.
And
Right.
maybe we just kickstart it differently. Like, one that most of the families that I know do is like, what are you thankful for this year? Right. Like, I love to say, like, if your family feels this cohesive, like, what would be one thing that we would say we were thankful for that person being in our life?
Hmm.
Like, there's
Yeah.
ways that it doesn't have to be painful, but it might
Right.
still be purposeful. And it might still be very intense in the emotions you feel. But
Yes.
there's a difference between just crying because we're grieving to grieve versus
Hmm.
processing the grief we have about someone not being there.
Yes, and if even if you are uncomfortable with tears or grief or loss or don't know what to
Mhm.
say or didn't like the person for whatever reason that isn't present for death or another reason,
Mm,
pull your head out of your own ass, because it's not about you in that moment. It's about the
true.
relationship that the person who is grieving had with the person they are grieving. You are not in the equation
Mm,
in the sense of how it makes you feel at the moment. Maybe there will be an invitation of getting to share, who was missed or what have you. But if you
yeah.
find yourself reading the room and you're the only one with, or maybe there's multiple people with complicated feelings towards
Mhm.
that person, in my opinion, shut up. Like, keep it to yourself and just keep it at something neutral. And if the golden rule, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. There is
Mm,
truly no need, maybe want and desire. There's no need to disrupt it and go back to making it all about
no.
you if you didn't like the person who has passed on. You're entitled to that. I'm not invalidating that. However, there
Mm,
are other people who may not share that view, and you can just say, I hear you. I would be sad if I lost my grandpa too, or
mm,
based on how close you were, that makes sense that you're sad, right? Like, factual, neutral things can really make way in terms of maintaining
oh,
and
yeah.
not needing to rupture, then repair a relationship. You don't have to like the person, but you can put your empathy is key. You can put yourself in the other person's shoes. What would it feel like to be sad about missing someone around
Mm,
this time of year? I'd be bummed. Go with that. you don't have to relate it to the person. You can relate it to just, again, it requires basic empathy. You can relate it to, this feels different. That can be a statement you make too around the
Mm,
holidays, how to navigate this. Like, this makes sense. It feels different and it is heavy to not pass the trauma. And that is one of the ways to come full circle that you don't pass the trauma, is reignite your own beef or your own unprocessed
mm,
emotions towards whatever grief or loss might be being honored with that grace. It's much better to extend the grace and then go talk to your therapist after and be like, wow, this was an intense holiday for me. I didn't realize how much I still hold resentment for
mm.
whatever. There's an appropriate place to talk about that. And it's probably not 4 glasses of wine in when everybody else at the family misses that person. Like, leave
What?
the room. I know, shocking, but that would be my 2 cents. Yeah.
I mean, I think you nailed it, which is like, again, in moments that people are really struggling, are you going to make it about yourself? Or are you going
Yeah.
to make yourself useful and helpful in that moment?
Yeah. Or sometimes the most useful thing you can do is just be quiet. And
Mm,
not, and it's not like be quiet and then go talk shit. It's like be quiet and just be like, this is truly not my time right
yeah.
now. And now I will end on this on my own stuff. I remember the first Christmas too. I clearly had severe postpartum anxiety and depression because of everything that was going on. And I was baby wearing because I'm not like his family that passed kids around like they were fucking football. Not my thing. I didn't like his family either because they were mistreating me. So why would I give you my kid or our kid? And I was wearing her. And I remember going in to change and try and pump and breastfeed. And I walked in on him and his sister talking shit about me while I was in the next room. And I was
Mm,
like, do you have a problem? No, oh no. I'm like, I heard you. I have ears. Like, do you have a problem that you want to address? No, I just, and I'm like, then be quiet. Like, if you're not going to come, and I was pissed. I was
yeah.
like, if you're not going to come at me with that. And I was like to him, and I'm like, and also, we're talking about this on the way home. Like, that was just
Mm,
it's not a healthy dynamic. So it's not to say don't say it to the person, then go talk shit. Just don't say it at all. And if you have something to say at the right time, address it with the specific person if you desire a long-standing
mm,
relationship. And with the family system, we've talked about this the last 2 episodes. If you're in a family system, whether they're extended family or not, it can be worthwhile to address, even if you come to terms with, look, I don't like you,
absolutely.
you don't like me. I get that, but for the sake of the overall system, can we just not engage? Like, let's just act like we don't have a dynamic in a relationship so as to not trigger one another for the sake of the greater good of the external system. That's an option available too, where it's like a no contact, but like you just wish them well and you're like, we don't have a relationship. That can be an option too to maintain somewhat more of a functional entire system, because not every personality gets along. That's allowed. Not everybody has to like each other in a family, but I do think for the sake of the greater good, acting in a more respectful and reserved way can help prevent the fallouts and blowouts, and can help give joy to maintain that like positive feeling around the holiday season. So
Mic drop.
don't pass the trauma, go to therapy. And if your family is dysfunctional, stop doing a white elephant. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think that was exactly
I
what we
feel
said.
like I would have just gotten them all therapy gift card. Actually, I would have hired a therapist and done an intervention.
You
That
know,
would be
I
my
don't want to give
next.
them any like thing to think of, but could you
Yeah.
imagine if you could actually like give someone a BetterHelp gift card?
Like a
Like
membership and
like
force them to go.
here you
Yes.
go. Here for
Yes.
Christmas, you're getting 3 free
Yep.
sessions
Yep.
from a therapist.
Yeah. And you're also court ordered to go. You can't not go.
Exactly. Mandate
Yeah.
it. Nothing
Yeah.
says love like mandating it. Okay.
I
Ultimatums.
agree.
Yes,
Ultimatums, which go back and listen to our ultimatums episode.
absolutely.
Glad you survived the holiday season. If you did, come back and tell us what it was like for you, if we gave you any good advice or not. And I think this is our last one for the year.
I
Or
believe it
yeah.
is.
So we'll see you in the new year.
See you guys.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Between Two Clinicians. We would so appreciate if this episode resonated with you, for you to share it with somebody, and also find your favorite podcast platform and like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast. We would love to attract more listeners just like you and have this message be spread to whoever needs it. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.